And I wonder if it's just like it's like weird. Like I want to just go. Like he goes from talking about Ox has been Ox since kindergarten when he lifted a rock out the creek that was the biggest end, and then it goes into Ox is the best kind of strong friend. So I wonder if there's a way like hang a hard left on the gravel path behind the sign, like like. Sign. This is where. Like, this is something.
This is something.
This is something about Ox.
Ox transition.
Yeah.
Just put in like a robot voice. Be like, this is time when Ox did something.
Start entrance. So I think this would be the gate again. So we just have to make sure that there's no late gates over here. Ox is the best kind of strong friend to have. Some strong kids don't know they're strong and will hurt you on the football field by accident. Some know they're strong and will hurt you on purpose. Ox is big and gentle, but isn't afraid to stick up for his friends. He mostly uses his muscles to carry things in and out of the park, like these wildflowers. The whole field, who knows the season? So it could be the wildflowers.
Yeah, I think if it's not these, because then nobody's looking for...
Like the wildflowers.
Yeah. And then if they're there, people are like, oh, cool.
Like the wildflowers. If Strami and me wanted to bring our moms home some flowers, we just pick some and bring them home. Ox, though, would fill a bucket of water down the creek and bring the flowers home with the water. When the sun started to stay high in the sky and the honeysuckles in the schoolyard started to flower, that's a lot of flowers, started to open. When the sun started to stay high in the sky and the honeysuckles in the schoolyard started to open, we knew that school was about to end and that the mulberries in the park would be ripe. Ox would carry his dad's wooden folding ladder and an old bedsheet and his bucket into the woods. Along this path, we looked for the black berry-stained ground. But really, Strami would look for the berries. I would just stare at the sky and try not to fall behind. If that could be some beats in there. It's funny because there is this discoloration. This isn't from blackberries, but there is a mulberry tree up there that they might be like, oh.
That would be like Yahtzee.
It was just I was just eating from it every day.
Yeah.
The first time here, there's just nowhere to get food around here. So I was eating a ton of mulberries. When we found a mulberry tree, Strami would climb the ladder and take a branch of berries onto the bedsheet. Then he'd handpick the ripe ones that didn't fall. One in the bucket, one in the mouth with Strami's face. It used to make us mad. And then one day he wasn't doing it, and we got worried that maybe he was sick. And me and Ox realized it had been years since he'd been mad about one in the bucket, one in the mouth. And we started laughing, remembering the time Strami's mom asked us to pick a bucket so she could make mulberry jam. And strawberry brought back not even enough for one toast. And we looked up at Strami, and he wasn't laughing. That's when he told us his parents sold their house to the city. So that's the only part where I imagine the writing might significantly change. Because there's a decent amount of time to the next gate.
Sure.
And this is where I wrote in my notes, should I flesh these characters out more?
Yeah.
So this walk could flesh them out.
Cool. And it's nice to have a little bit of lead time.
Yeah.
Just so that if we do have somebody who...
This is an old turtle,
what?
turtle nest. I was here when they would just dig a hole and start laying eggs.
That's
And
amazing.
once they start laying eggs, they can't move. So you just be walking along your path and just hey, turtle.
Be like, hiya. That's awesome.
And this was all planted to be pollinators. For butterflies and bees. I've seen so many monarchs down here the last few weeks.
That's cool.
It's been amazing. I'm just coming every single week for the last, I don't know, month or so, and just seeing oh, the mulberries are all gone. Oh, now there's all these butterflies here.
It's nuts to watch the same trail from March to now.
Yeah. Is this the mulberry tree? Yeah, this is the mulberry tree. I think that might be an invasive vine, but this one right here. From March to now.
Just because of how much rain we've gotten, everything is just
Yeah.
The Schuylkill path is covered in wild raspberries.
Yeah.
It's I'm just okay, great, snack time.
Yeah, there's a a blackberry patch back there that hasn't been ripe yet. Oh,
Turtle. Hey, dude.
Laying an egg, it looks like. Maybe.
Please don't touch me.
Where's the Schuylkill Trail?
There are two sections. There's one that's on near Bartram's.
That's where the raspberries are?
The northern section is the one that goes through Manayunk. That one is just covered in raspberries.
Really?
Yeah.
Where in Manayunk?
Like if you...
Like behind Main Street?
Yeah.
Good to know.
And it goes all the way up to like just where the city line ends. Or Carmen's chunk of it does. Obviously, the Schuylkill goes very far.
Yeah. So maybe so this next one, we don't have to read this whole one because it's not timing, because it's like standing in one place.
Yeah.
So maybe Shami could say like, let's sit on this bench or hang out or get a good spot where we can look out at the river for a second.
Yeah, and if we hit it like here so that you can like be seeing that there's a bench, would be cool. You'd be like, let's find a good spot. You can sit or blah, 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 blah.
There's a man here who's retired and fishes here pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And he also grew up in the area. He doesn't talk a ton.
Yeah.
But I was down here. It just like speaks to like continuity. Like the first time I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then like just like nothing. And like the second time like a little bit more. And then last time I was like, hey, I have a draft of my story. Can I read part of it to you? And I read him the river part. And then he just like went off and just started talking for like
that's awesome.
a half hour. Just sit on the bench.
How did the read go with
Terry didn't come, which was sad. And then it was like 115 degrees.
Yeah.
So David, the ranger, walked with me, which was helpful because he gave me a lot of feedback about like he made a little edit to the trail route to make it easier.
Oh, cool.
And he just gave me a lot of good feedback about. I put in my notes late last night about just like.
Oh, not picking things.
Not picking things, but also just like how to make it like if somebody came and then you were like. Here's this thing you could do. You're gonna walk up the driveway, and just like how to like sell that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So this would be the next spot. You're on the bench. You can see the river. You're like on the edge of the bench.
I mean, I'm still figuring out exactly how we give directions to people, but I think like it'll probably be something like,
let's find a spot where we can see the creek.
Yeah, and that will like prime people that says like, when a character says like hang out for a second, that's usually an indication that you want to stop, and then they'll tell you when to start walking again.
Okay. So the creek is my favorite part, blah, blah, blah. And then, this is long. This is like maybe 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes. Also, it's dynamic. I mean, that's part of this, right? It's like slow down and
I mean, it's really
like notice stuff.
If you want somebody to just like chill, I think that's totally cool.
Okay, great. So chill here, and then he says, I don't know if all that's true, but it feels good to think about sometimes. And that's the end of this.
So it probably would be helpful if we said something like "go back out on the path," just so that people don't.
This way now.
Yeah.
I mean, or we don't. If this is too complicated, you think? Let's walk it and we can see.
Yeah.
So I had thought this because it's like a little bit more dynamic. But yeah, they could just go right back there. Of course, now this is like free fall.
I mean, or maybe I could say something like, you can walk along the creek or go back up to the path. Because I think the gates are close enough that I go, whoa. Look at that guy.
Whoa.
Fuzzy. So cool. I'm gonna let you display.
Awesome. One day. Yeah, I mean, it's just right here.
Yeah, because the only trick is, like, if they walk this, I just want to make sure
Right.
that people don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe just send them back up to the path.
If it's okay,
Yeah,
I think it would probably be
Yeah.
more reliable that they'll get over
Yeah,
here.
great. So then he would say, like, maybe it just like sits there for a little bit, and then he's like, all right, let's keep walking.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's keep walking back up on the path. Let's go back to the path and
Keep walking. Yeah, that's great.
Will they have, like, on the app, like, their GPS dot and the route?
Unfortunately, because of the way the way it's going to work, we won't have a live map in the app. We'll have a picture, and then there'll be like little marker points, which will probably correspond to where the story nodes are.
Got it.
So those will light up, so it'll feel like they're in a live map, but they won't actually see themselves moving.
Got it. So artistically, I liked it starting. Hey, Winnie. I liked starting to talk about the city here because it's like the buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
But I wonder if actually it's better to just get them to the path because it's like a lot of.
Yeah.
So maybe we just use this moment to.
I think it would be good if they come out here to be like, get back to the paved path, hang a right, something like that.
Right. Get back to the paved path and then follow it left down the Brown Gate, I think.
Yeah. Back to the paved path, and so we're going in here. I don't know if this is too direction-y, but like, follow the paved path, take a right, and then how do we get them to do this one?
Follow the and then just follow let's follow the paved path and then let's follow the paved path to the right, and then let's take a left down past the Brown Gate.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah. and I don't know if it's too clunky, but if you could be like, take the Brown Gate, not the metal one.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I was just listening to Brianna explain to a new visitor, like, you get to the fork, and then there's a silver gate and a brown gate.
Yeah.
If you want the shade, go on the brown gate. So take a right.
And we'd probably trigger that before they see this part. So like if we hit, like just when they come out of the wood cover, maybe that's where we pin, like, hang a right on the paved path, and then at the fork take the brown gate, not the silver one.
Hang a right.
It's gonna be so funny watching people like. Because we're just going to follow them and just be like, you just do whatever you want to do. We're just going to watch you.
What do you mean?
When we test it, yeah.
So we trigger it here. I don't think that'll make too much a difference in the timing. it's like speaks to like how important it is to like have relationships with the local organization, because I had like this whole scene I was imagining with this outdoor classroom, and they're like, oh yeah, we're getting rid of that like in the next 6 months. Great, good enough.
Gotcha.
The city is a bunch of white men that are always dressed to go to a funeral, and somehow they're more powerful than God. One day I came home from fishing and Mom told me to clean up and get dressed in my nice shirt because Ox's mom, Mrs. Franklin, invited us to her church. I knew it wasn't a funeral because everyone on the banks of the Darby would have been talking about who died, shaking their heads like marsh leaves on a windy day. Even though we'd been to Mrs. Franklin's house, and Mr. Franklin was the doctor that delivered me, and of course Ox and me went to the same school, we never went to the Franklin's church unless it was for a funeral. Heck, even Mrs. Franklin never went to her church. A lot of Sundays we see her in the woods, we see her in the park picking plants to use as medicine. She'd say things like, God made the trees, and they're the only church I need. When we got to the church, it felt like everyone in the meadows was there, which was strange because church was the only thing we didn't share in the meadows. But on this day, there were so many people in the church that there wasn't even enough room in the pews. Even our rabbi and the Catholic priest was there. The Catholic priest with his funny collar was there. People were quiet like somebody had died, but there were no flowers or coffin or big metal jar, just the city sitting at a long table at the front of the room. And this is like the 5 to 10 second meditative pause. And like in the writing and like when you guys get in the studio with the actor, like I switch grammatically between like my mom and me and my mom, just like because I feel like that's just more naturally how people talk.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like tight about any of that. Like if the actor
makes a mistake
or if whoever's directing them feels like try this way. Like I don't like anything that just makes it sound more natural.
Okay.
My mom and me only went to temple twice a year. But after the first meeting with the city, we started going to a different church every week. Sometimes the city was there, and Mrs. Franklin would stand up and read them a letter they didn't seem to want to hear. When the city wasn't there, the adults would bring in folders of paper that they spread out on a table and looked at like my mom and grandma look at 1,000-piece puzzles on rainy weekends. The meetings got longer, and the adults all started to look tired. During one meeting, Strami, Ox, and me were pitching pennies up against the wall in the church entryway. And Mrs. Franklin caught us, but she didn't scold us for playing games in church or lecture us about gambling in the Lord's house. She just smiled with her lips, shook her head, and walked away. The next day, we all met up right here. It could just be right here.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need to be the old railroad tracks. But I was trying to figure out a spot, like, why would they know to meet here? You know, like, why is this their spot?
Yeah.
Like, here on they call this Tinicum Trail. I could just say that. Like, we made up here on our spot at Tinicum Trail or something.
Yeah. Meet up here on Tinicum Trail. Yeah, totally.
The next day, we all met up right here on Tinicum Trail. The night before, our parents had all told us the same thing. We only had to come to meetings when the city was there to show them how many people lived in the meadows. But other than that, we could go back to playing in the park. So this is where I wrote like maybe a hobo song. I don't like. I guess I imagined that like that the whole piece would kind of have like a cohesive musical mood.
Yeah.
And that the music would kind of signify transition and kind of hold the emotion of what happened and maybe allude to what's about to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, it sort of depends. Like, I know, probably we'll put some kind of interstitial something at the end of everything, partly just so people know, like, you're okay.
Yeah.
Because silence, I think, can be scary, unless it feels dramatically intentional. So yeah, I imagine that there will be some kind of thematic stuff, probably at the end of all the sections.
Okay.
Or it could also be, like, if there are sections where, the other possibility is that we would intentionally plug in ambient sounds.
Yeah.
Like the cicadas are so cool.
Yeah. And it's funny, like, earlier in the morning and also, like, earlier in the summer, the bird sounds was so prevalent. And now as it's getting hotter, and the cicadas, I guess, are now out. But in June when I was down here, it felt like the lobby where they have all the bird sounds like speakered in.
It's so funny to see like the algae blooms are like on a lot of the trails are now like so thick.
Yeah.
Like Aaron's trail is just green. It's
this is duckweed actually.
Oh.
This is healthy.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is good to know.
Yeah. I learned a lot at summer camp.
Yeah.
It was just like so like I've gone on like 3 guided walks and like there's just like so much programming here.
Yeah. Oh, bullfrog.
So that trash can up there is where we're turning right.
Okay, cool.
So I don't know if
Probably would be good to throw a direction there.
yeah.
And I'd probably trigger it around here
Okay.
so that you definitely are seeing it.
How about just like let's take a right up at the trash can so I can show you the fort we built.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out something to do with this spot. It's so sweet. But
So good.
I feel like in writing, there's like an absence of the environment. The tension for me is often like, oh, I love this word, or I love this image, but does it fit with the poem or the whatever I'm writing? And I feel like with this, it's like, oh, I love this spot, or I
Right.
love this place, but does it fit with the story? So this is pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
Right, there's a path.
Yeah, there's like a...
Yeah. I think it would just trigger like now.
And you'd want them to stop here.
No, it's the so
To keep going.
So he starts describing the fort now, and then we
cool.
come upon the fort.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I guess how do we make sure they don't stop, that they know this isn't the fort?
Like, I mean, it...
Let's take a right up at the trash can and keep walking past the bridge so I can show you the fort.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we could even record a couple versions of it where, like, maybe we have a second one where it's like, follow me on the trash can, hang a right. One version that's like, and go over the bridge, and another one where actually, like, once they hit there, it's like, go over the bridge as a separate one. So we could try it two different ways.
Okay. I'm going to start reading this one because this is one where the timing
Gotcha.
is kind of tight. The fort is one of the last things me, Strami, and Ox did together before Strami moved. Ox found the wood down by the railroad tracks near the old hobo camp. Our parents told us to stay away from the hobos, so of course we didn't. We'd sneak down there some nights and watch them from the edge of the woods. One time this old hobo saw us and called us over to the fire where he and the other hobos were talking. He pulled the digging side of the shovel off the coals at the edge of the edge of the fire. And the shovel, hello, how's it going? In the shovel were some chopped up hot dogs floating in some mush. The old man offered us some of his dinner, and Strami would have ate it if Ox didn't pinch the back of his arm. The hobos just ate their mush, sang along to their friend who played a banjo and told stories. They were nice, but boring, like most adults, so we didn't hang around for long. So, depending on the mowing,
Yeah.
this looks more appealing.
Yeah. But either way, you definitely get the sense this is like
Not-
flatter
Yeah.
encampment.
But also that like they shouldn't turn here. Like, we don't need to say don't turn here, right?
I don't think
Okay,
so.
great. That would just be them going rogue. This is a great place to watch birds. You saw some cool stuff happening. So then it's like, the bird blind is the fort. And then ideally,
What a great, yeah.
they would hang out in the fort. So then it's like, adults being boring is part of the reason why we built this fort. And then like, I was thinking that like, maybe like, I don't know if you could somehow trigger it that like, the audio sounds like Abe is over there. It's like, come in and check out the fort. I don't know.
We could play with it, yeah.
Adults being boring is part of the reason why we built this fort. I guess, you want me to read this whole thing?
So you want people to go in here. So I would maybe add a direction that's like, come on in, sit down, or something.
Okay.
Or come on in and stand, look out.
Yeah.
Just so that it's clear.
Yeah.
Don't, because I could see a version where people are like, I see it and I keep walking.
Right, okay.
And I think probably then at the end we would want something like, let's go back out.
Right. So it's like, let's go in the fort and see if we can see some birds. And it's like, adults being boring is part of the reason why we built this fort. And then blah, blah, blah. And then,
How long is that section? I'm just thinking like, will people get itchy and be like, I'm gonna go outside?
adults is being boring and part of the reason we built this fort. After a lot of church meetings, our parents would come home with different neighbors and sit around talking about the city. Mom looked how I imagined she looked when she stopped getting telegrams from Dad when he was fighting in the war. If I was in the house or the backyard when the neighbors came over, Mom would call after me every 5 minutes to grab Miss So-and-so a glass of water or fetch Mr. Somebody a peach from the basket in the kitchen. So one night when I was practicing casting in the backyard and I saw a bunch of neighbors come by with their folders, I snuck out. I thought I would get into trouble, but when I came home late that night, all Mom asked was, were you out with your friends? Did you have fun? Our first time hanging out in the woods all night was exciting. It was a full moon, and we went into the long clearing back there and played a whole game of football. Ox was a steady quarterback. Strami dropped what would have been a tying touchdown. He said he lost it in the moon because it was too bright, but it was so bright that night that we played a game of cards without a fire or a flashlight. But later that month, when the moon went away, the woods opened up. They went from something that would hold us to something that would swallow us, like when the ringmaster put his head in that lion's mouth at the circus last year. It was one thing to play football under the bright moon, but it was different sitting still there in the dark. That's why we built the fort, some place where we could look into the forest, but the forest couldn't look into us. The walls quieted the strange night sounds enough that we could relax. We chose the spot next to the water so nothing could sneak up on us from that side. We played cards and pitched pennies and told scary stories. One night, Ox came in, carried in some old chairs that neighbors left behind when they moved. We curled up in those big soft chairs. I leaned my back up against one armrest and hung my feet over the other. I fell asleep to Strami talking about what he was going to have for breakfast, and woke up a few minutes or a few hours later to him talking about the same thing. I started laughing, then Ox started laughing, and then Strami started laughing, until all of us were just laughing at the sounds of our laughs. When we finally calmed down, our faces were wet with tears. I turned on my dad's army flashlight, and we all walked home. Yes, I feel like if you were like looking,
Yeah.
but you are in a dark.
Yeah, I mean, it's my only question is just what happens if somebody gets kind of itchy and then just keeps walking.
Yeah, they will hit another
Story
story note pretty quickly.
So it might be worth, I know it's less than ideal,
Yeah.
and we can try to keep them in here.
Yeah.
But it might be worth thinking about, like, is there a chunk of the story that if they do peace out, we'd want to, like, end with, because what'll happen is they'll start walking, they'll hit the next gate, and we can either play out what they're listening to or cut it early if they hit a new gate.
Well, and so cutting it early would like, I don't know, let's see the next one and then answer.
Okay,
that
cool.
question. Now, is there a way to incentivize even more to stay in there? Like, that's there so you can see cool birds
Distance,
that you wouldn't be able
1
to see.
mile.
Like, I wonder
Duration,
if
39 minutes. 58
like maybe
seconds.
somewhere rather than just
Pace,
like maybe we do it once at the
39
beginning
minutes,
and then
58
somewhere.
seconds.
She's just telling me we walked a mile.
Oh.
Maybe somewhere in the middle of the story we can be like, you can walk around it or like look in and out. Like I'll
Yeah.
tell you when we move on, or just
Got
something
it,
that's
got
like
it.
really
Yeah,
like
yeah.
hang
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And I think if it's like a couple paragraphs in, so they get the first directive,
Yeah.
and then be like, wait, here, I want to tell you the story in the fort.
And then this would be the next one. And then you can do it in the shade.
Yes.
But yeah, I think ideally they would just stand here, you know, 'cause it's like always something
Yeah.
happening here. And then Strami's family was the first to move off their block. Strami said his mom said the city offered them so much money they could buy a house next to the woods in Mount Airy. A lot of other blocks, though, had nothing left, not even the houses. The city bulldozed them, and it was like walking on this footbridge. You had to walk down the middle of the street because on the sidewalks was piles of bricks and wood. On the bulldozed blocks, the sky was big like this, but this sky used to make me imagine things, like clouds were animals, or that birds were big as planes. The big sky on the bulldozed blocks just felt like too much, like seeing my grandma pick apples from my dad's grave tree. Like I know it's the same sky, and that grandma picks fruits for her wines from all kinds of trees, but something about her at her son's tree and the big sky in the middle of the neighborhood was too much. The city didn't bulldoze Strami's house. They just broke the windows and took off the front door and let it sit there. Ox said that his mom said it was punishment for everyone else who wouldn't leave.
I wonder
That
if
part, yeah, that has some essential story stuff that you couldn't skip,
yeah.
and it's like very place specific.
So I wonder if again we just want to say like, I know it feels like a lot of direction.
This one they could not stop here
Yeah.
and just
Like maybe if we start it at the beginning of the footbridge.
yeah.
Who is? Maybe if we started at the beginning of the footbridge, so that because that part about the sky feels like important.
Yeah.
Can you read that one more time?
The whole thing, or just the
Maybe from the. Let's actually like walk
it,
it
yeah,
and just
sounds
see
good.
if somebody it doesn't
didn't
instinctually
stop.
stop.
yeah.
So if we hit it
How far apart do the gates have to be?
like 20 feet, tree cover makes it a little less reliable.
Yeah.
So I'd say like if we hit
This
it
was a gate
here.
Yeah. So Strami's family was the first to move off their block. Strami said his mom said the city offered them so much money they could buy a house next to the woods in Mount Airy. A lot of other blocks though had nothing left, not even the houses. The city bulldozed them, and it was like walking on this footbridge. You had to walk down the middle of the street because on the sidewalks was piles of bricks and wood. On the bulldozed blocks, the sky was big like this. Not bad, but
Yeah.
this sky used to make me imagine things, like clouds were animals, or that birds were big as planes. The big sky on the bulldozed blocks just felt like too much, like seeing my grandma pick apples from my dad's grave tree. Like I know it's the same sky, and that grandma picks fruits for her wines from all kinds of trees, but something about her at her son's tree and the big sky in the middle of the neighborhood was too much. The city didn't bulldoze Strami's house. They just broke the windows and took off the front door and let it sit there. Ox said that his mom said it was punishment for everyone else who didn't leave. So it works, but then this is a fork,
Yeah.
and it's a tricky one too.
right.
I wonder if it, yeah.
I'm trying to think. So we could. What we. So once they fork, does it immediately start a new section?
No, this is just a transition, so.
So what we could do is once they hit that,
Yeah.
if we could break that up into two pieces, that section, and put the direction to hang. Are we going right or left?
Well, I was actually just thinking that I wonder, we could probably get back. I've always been going left, but it's actually a little trickier over here. And now I'm wondering if this
It's better.
is easier. It doesn't matter. It's the next gate.
So if there's a break
Yeah.
somewhere in there, like, you tell me if this feels too weird. Like, the bilbo sky was big like this in the plains, cut, like, at the fork, take a right.
Spot, yeah.
Then, like they'll see the break,
right.
know to take it, and then the thought will continue through the end of the section.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds good. And I think I don't know, it would be interesting to see user testing. Like, I feel like you're in the woods, you're in the woods, you're in the woods, you're in the woods. This is your first time seeing the pond, so that you'll
like slow down a
slow
little.
down. I don't know. I guess we won't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like you can never predict what people.
And some people are very like.
And once they like get in, it's weird. I think like once you're in story mode, like your brain starts doing a different thing. I mean, I do think the fact that it says sky. Is.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Do you want to go the way I've been going, or do you want to see if maybe this way is easier?
If your instinct is towards this one, let's go this way.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I know this one is like, this one is like this. There's always mud here. And then just a quick right. I guess that's not that hard.
Do you want to?
That way, there's eventually a sign. Is that too much?
No, I don't think so.
I don't have my map on me. All right. So then we would say left at the fork, and then hug the trail
to the right.
To the right. Look to see if any of those blackberries are right real quick.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and this would be an awesome spot if Heinz was willing to just throw like a little sign. Like at a couple of these spots, just so people know they're in the right place. Like if we had just like a little thing that was like trail off this way, trail off this way, would be. Because I actually like that it's not just a line. Like so many of the trails are just like go.
Yeah, this is actually just like the first route I took into the like I went on like a guide trail.
Yeah.
And there was another part that she took us, and she's like, "This is my favorite spot. Don't tell anybody about this."
I'll tell them all.
No, I didn't take us that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this is all just music or sounds.
Yeah.
Could the rangers say something like, I don't know. I feel like the pacing of this is like decent gap, walk at whatever pace you need to.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the gates are slower. Which
Yeah.
is how I walk in the woods, which is like I walk really slowly. Like I'm always.
I mean, I think we can definitely, like at the start of some stories, say, you know, like when the story's happening, take it slow.
Yeah. And like take it slow, and like there's an infinite amount of things to see. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a question about whether actually people will slow down in the places where there is no story. Because functionally, often when you're hearing stuff, it's like you go a little in your head.
Right, you're not actually absorbing as much.
Yeah. And then when it's quiet, suddenly you can be like, oh.
Look at these flowers. My God. Unbelievable.
Cool. Look at that guy up there on top of the...
Oh, wow. Nice. Is that a blue heron or a egret? I don't know. And then with the plane in the background.
I know, like in version like 3.0 of this app, we're gonna like sync flight patterns and be like, that plane to your left.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That is quite the picture. Part of me thinks the whole app should just be a prank where it's like, haha, you've showed up at this beautiful place. There's no story. Just walk around.
We got you here. There's nothing to do. No, but on the next one, for real. For real, in the second one, you'll get a story. Just kidding!
We took you to another beautiful place. Unless you have like the Washington Ave, Delaware Trail. That one might be hard.
But the back part of it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like that.
I haven't been down there in a few years.
It's great. I mean, I walk it all the time,
That's
actually,
awesome.
because it's right near my house.
Oh, nice.
Mushrooms. Like that little section where the pier is, I love.
Oh yeah, because now the piers are open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a dude who, I don't know, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that the city would let it go without it being official, but it definitely looks very DIY. This dude who's just built a huge garden. I mean, it's like, it's gotta be like, so this would probably be another one.
Yeah.
Two, and maybe hit it back there. Like at a tree stump, take a left.
Yeah. So then I could just be like, let's take a left let's take a left onto the tree stump might not always
Point.
be there.
When
Hello.
you hit
Take
the,
a left onto the asphalt
yeah,
and get on
the bridge. or
and get on our raft.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but there's he's growing like giant, like squash the size of your head.
Wow. On the pier?
It's like if you just go just past the pier, there's like a little concrete area, and then like right before you turn to go to the next pier, there's like a little embankment.
That's awesome.
And he's just taking it over. It's
That's
crazy.
awesome. So yeah, I think this, and ideally this one would trigger just like right here.
Mm-hmm.
We could read this one too. Last time I saw Ox, we got on this raft and paddled across the pond. Ideally some paddle
sounds.
sounds. By then, me and Mom were already living in Levittown. The city had come over and told Mom it was her duty to let them have her house. Told her they knew my dad was a soldier and that she would respect the laws and that she should respect the laws that he fought for. Mom tried to explain it to me, that the city could take your house if they had an idea for something better. But I can't see how a bunch of empty houses and piles of bricks is better than the meadows. Ox said his mom said she would never leave her house. Ox said the city offered her pennies for her house. Said it wasn't worth nothing because it was next to Strami's house, and no one would want a house next to an empty one with broken windows and animals living in it. Which is shit that they really did.
Yeah.
Just leave people's houses. Mrs. Franklin convinced a whole bunch of her neighbors to stay on their block, but she couldn't convince Mr. Franklin. Ox said he needed to go where babies were being born, and that no one was going to have a baby in what was left of the meadows anytime soon. He took Ox up to West Philly. Last time me and Ox were floating on this raft, I asked him what West Philly was like. He said the first time a white boy called him black was when I called him pumpernickel bread. He said the second time was the day after he moved to West Philly when a police officer grabbed him by his collar. And the third time a week later when his dad tried to buy a house near us in Levittown. And they would stop. We stopped paddling. You could say like, no, but he's reminiscing. We stopped paddling just like this, or like?
We stopped paddling right here.
We stopped paddling right here?
Yeah.
We stopped paddling right here and just let the raft float. It barely moved. I looked back towards the meadows at the part of the pond I imagine has always looked the same. Ox looked the other way towards the airport. He wondered if flying felt like sitting on a raft, if sitting on the air felt like sitting on the water. I asked Ox why the pond was his favorite part of the park. He said it's like an outdoor movie theater that never plays the same picture twice. Like the time we saw the two bald eagles attack that big bird with a fish in its claws, or the time we saw a bird as big as a plane take off from behind a clump of cattails, or the time we saw a bird that wasn't even bigger than my chest, bigger than my fist, chase a hawk over the lake and past the trees. The last time Ox and me were here, we laid so still on this raft that the small birds forgot we were here and landed right next to us, which happened. Flying the railings. That's the Yahtzee.
Yeah.
Landed right next to us. That day when the sun went and hid behind the trees, Ox picked up his paddle. It felt like he just had to pull the paddle through the water twice to take us from the middle of the pond all the way to the banks. So it's like there's like a alluding to movement, but like let's paddle ashore or something.
I think we probably will want, like, let's keep going,
Okay.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Is it worth walking from here to the end just to see what happens if somebody doesn't stop?
Yeah, I mean there's a whole. I know it will
Overextend.
No, it might be fine. Let's try it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we know we got
From here,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, right here.
So if we just pick up from there, just to see.
Yeah, we just stop paddling right here. We stop paddling right here and just let the raft float. It barely moves. I look back towards the meadows at the part of the pond and imagine it's always looking safe. Ox looked the other way towards the airport. He wanted to fly, felt like sitting on a raft. If sitting on the air felt like sitting on the water. I asked Ox why the pond was his favorite part of the park. He said it's like an outdoor movie theater that replays the same picture twice. Like the time we saw the two bald eagles attack that big bird with the fish in its claws, which I saw, it was awesome. Or the time we saw a bird as big as a plane take off from behind a clump of cattails. Or the time we saw a bird that wasn't even bigger than my fist chase a hawk over the lake and past the trees. The last time Ox and me were here, we laid so still on this raft that the small birds forgot we were here and landed right next to us. That day when the sun went and hid behind the trees, Ox picked up his paddle. It felt like he just had to pull the paddle through the water twice to take us from the middle of the pond all the way to the banks. I think that's fine.
Great, yeah. I mean, so we'll, I think, keep those things in there.
So the only problem with that is that the next kind of the ending is a little bit long, and let's walk it.
Okay.
So originally, I imagined them going up, down to the creek, out there, and then back. And as I was reading it with the ranger, he's like, just have them go sit at the creek, and then the last gate is like right over there.
Sure.
And so he's like, is there a way to just have them listen to the last portion and reflect by the creek, and then whenever they're ready, once they cross that gate, they'll hear kind of like the little ending.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so maybe here we put a trigger that just says like, go up the stairs towards the creek.
Yeah. So I wonder if when Mr. Johnson said the land remembers, if he meant the pond and the creek too, or if he just meant the dirt underneath it all. And I wonder if I have to see something in the land to know it remembers. Like how Mrs. Jackson says when you see butterflies, angels are around you.
And you want that to happen?
I guess I imagine that like you'd sit in the middle during probably by the time on the raft, and then you would walk on the second half of the bridge and hear this part. But you could hear this part up here at the creek, I guess, and that would be fine. It does mention, like the land remembers Ox would show a special pattern in the duckweed that rests on top of the pond. I guess it's fine. You can hear that from anywhere. So they come here.
I mean, it is nice that this, like, if once they come up over those stairs, they'll be looking right at this place to sit.
Yeah, yeah. So I just have them sit at the bench?
I think so. That would be awesome.
Yeah, great. So Shadow's pouring the water, and then it's
Because there's something kind of neat, like especially if we've got music going through that. Like once you're sitting here, like I wonder if the land remembers.
Yeah.
Because then it actually is like an awesome visual illusion to the first
back at the
water.
creek. Yeah, that's great. I wonder if when Mr. Johnson said the land remembers, if he meant the pond and the creek too, or if he just meant the dirt underneath it all. And I wonder if I have to see something in the land to know it remembers, like how Mrs. Jackson says when you see butterflies, angels are around you. Will the mulberry trees drop its fruit in a special way for astronomy? If the land remembers ox, will it show a pattern in the duckweed that rests on top of the pond? If the creek remembers me, will it show it in the mud that only comes out at low tide? I always liked the way that mud squished under my feet. And what did Mr. Johnson mean by if I was good to the land, it would remember me? I think I was good to the land. I never throw any trash in it. I didn't dig up the dirt to build a pipe like the oil company did. I only killed one squirrel with my slingshot, and honestly, that was an accident. I only took home as much fish as we could eat. I keep going back to the river to ask. I keep coming back to the river?
Yeah.
I keep coming back to the river. I keep coming back to the river to ask Mr. Johnson what he meant, but no one has been in the park the last few times I was here. I don't know if Mr. Johnson would answer my question anyway. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
So, let's go sit on the bench down by the creek and see if we can find Mr. Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah, this is such a gorgeous spot.
Yeah, that's great. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
The guy who's fishing told me that if you sit here long enough, you can watch a piece of trash go one way and then come back. I left that out.
That's good though.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope people will definitely, I feel like it's more dynamic during low tide.
Yeah.
Because you can see how high it goes, where at high tide it's like, oh yeah, it's a creek.
Yeah.
This is like a huge drop. Okay, so then we would need to get them, let's go back to the path and go home.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the path and take a left
To go home.
and go home. So this is tracking, this is also, in addition to the video, this is also tracking the new line.
Yeah.
It's a little different than I sent you everything. Okay,
Yep.
great. Do we get these crunchy sounds in?
So here's the deal with footsteps.
Yeah.
If you put them in at the beginning, you have to have them
The whole way.
whole time, which gets, we're playing around with it. We're trying to find a way where it doesn't just become like the entire path is footsteps.
Right.
Because literally every single person was like, how about the footsteps? And I was like, yes, and.
Because there's multiple characters running around, or just because?
Yeah, just in a lot of, I think it's like the sound that everybody notices immediately, and they're like, oh my God, the footsteps.
Yeah.
And it's like just trying to figure out how to do it without it feeling, it starts to feel actually like a video game almost.
Right.
Yeah.
So right around here would be the next gate. And then it's just this road that leaves the park.
Yeah.
This road that leaves the park reminds me of the road outside our old house in the meadows. I like the way it crunches when you walk and sounds like a fire crackling when you drive on it. Reminds me of the dirt road. Crackling when you drive on it. Last time Mom picked me up at the end of the road, she had a small bucket of apples from Dad's tree. She said it was probably the last of the season, but maybe she'll have some today.
Great. It's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
You feel good?
Yeah, I feel good. Yeah. It's always, writing is always weird because you spend all this time in your own head and then you show it to people. And sometimes people are like, this is great. Sometimes they're like, sorry, dude, you're just in your own head. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm open to either one. I don't feel, I'm always prepared for either one when I
Yeah, I feel like
bring it into the world.
It's like a super solid draft, and I'm really excited. I think the biggest thing for me is just making, testing out all of those twists and turns to make sure that we can get people to go where we need to, and just making sure we figure out how the container of the app. The producer part of my brain is like, what if somebody takes a wrong turn? Because it will happen. And then what do we do?
What do you do? Yeah.
But the story itself, yeah. And I'm so glad that you picked that part of the history, because I feel like it's something I personally have a lot of interest in.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see like that component of it, because I think a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, no, like eminent domain and... Well, that brought me to the question you put in the email about like bonus stuff. So there's like a PBS documentary on YouTube. It's like an hour long.